I didn't think twice about wearing the watch. It was brunch, neutral territory, safe territory, the kind of ritual my family treated like proof that everything functioned normally. Plates, small talk, the choreography of people who knew exactly which subjects to avoid. I had bought the watch a week earlier. Nothing extravagant, nothing symbolic, just a quiet, adult purchase made without consultation, which in hindsight should have felt more significant than it did. The reaction came fast, not loud, not theatrical, sharp. My stepfather's eyes dropped to my wrist mid-conversation. The shift was subtle but immediate, like someone had flipped a switch only he could see. "What is that?" The table paused. Not dramatically, forks hovered, voices stalled. My mother's expression tightened in that familiar way I had spent years pretending not to notice. "It's just a watch," I said. He stood before I finished the sentence. There's a particular kind of silence that happens in public spaces when something uncomfortable begins. People don't intervene. They don't even fully look. They politely disengage from reality. His hand closed around my arm, not violent, not gentle, decisive. The walk through the restaurant felt longer than it should have. My brain didn't jump to fear. It defaulted to calculation. Who's watching? How strange does this look? Is this actually happening? Outside, the air felt colder than expected. The parking lot stretched open and indifferent, cars sitting like passive witnesses. He didn't release my arm until we were fully separated from the soft noise of the restaurant. For a moment, he didn't speak. He just stared at the watch. "You think this is funny?" The question didn't make sense, which was somehow worse than if it had. "What?" His jaw tightened, not with rage but with something closer to panic poorly disguised as authority. "You know exactly what you're doing." And there it was, that disorienting sensation I'd known since childhood. The sudden awareness that I was being accused of violating a rule no one had ever clearly explained. Memory doesn't replay cleanly under stress. It flickers small moments, disconnected fragments. My stepfather insisting on approving purchases, for financial discipline. His discomfort whenever technology entered conversations. Arguments that began without visible triggers. My mother smoothing things over with phrases that dissolved meaning rather than clarified it. I looked at the watch again as if it might reveal its hidden offense. "It's just, stop." Not shouted. Compressed. "You don't get to play dumb." Embarrassment bloomed first. That reflexive shame of being corrected, of somehow having stepped outside invisible boundaries. But beneath it, something unfamiliar stirred. Confusion without submission. Because for once, I genuinely didn't understand the narrative being imposed on me. The confrontation didn't escalate into spectacle. No dramatic yelling, no cinematic breakdown. Just a dense, uncomfortable exchange where his certainty clashed against my growing, wordless realization that something fundamental was misaligned. Eventually, he stepped back. The distance felt abrupt, unfinished. "Take it off," he said. The sentence landed strangely, not as instruction, as revelation. And for reasons I couldn't fully articulate in that moment, I didn't comply. "I'm going back inside." The words surprised both of us. He didn't stop me. Which, at the time, felt like nothing. Only later did I understand it was the first fracture. The recording surfaced 3 days later. Not through investigation. Not through intention. Through accident. I had been adjusting settings at home, still learning the device's quiet mechanics. Heart rate, notifications, sleep tracking, mundane features of ordinary life. Audio. Time-stamped, unfamiliar, my own voice, his voice, the parking lot. I sat very still as the memory replayed, now stripped of adrenaline, now framed by the cold neutrality of documentation. Reality sounds different when it isn't filtered through survival instincts. His tone, not anger, but instability. My tone, cautious, placating, measured in ways I had never consciously chosen. More unsettling than the words themselves was the pattern revealed by distance. The way the interaction fit too neatly into something larger, something structural, something that suddenly refused to feel isolated. I didn't know what to do with it. So I did nothing. For nearly a week. Until my mother asked why things felt strained. The question carried its usual implication, emotional discomfort framed as misunderstanding rather than consequence. Without planning to, I played the recording. There are moments when silence changes texture, when it stops being absence and becomes presence. My mother didn't interrupt, didn't defend, didn't explain. She just listened. And in that listening, something I had never seen before appeared, not guilt, not shock, but recognition. Like she had heard this before. Like this wasn't new information. Which, in a way that felt both clarifying and destabilizing, became the real turning point. Authority entered quietly. A therapist's office does not resemble the dramatic spaces where truth is usually revealed. No confrontation, no raised voices. Just neutral furniture, controlled lighting, questions asked without emotional investment. I hadn't gone there to expose anything, only to understand why a watch had triggered a crisis. But recordings have a way of shifting conversations from interpretation to evaluation. This, the therapist said gently, is not about a watch. It was the first time anyone had stated it plainly, without hedging, without family vocabulary bending reality into something softer. Patterns emerged slowly, not accusations, observations, control mechanisms, conditioned responses, long-standing distortions of normalcy. The recording didn't destroy anything dramatically. It destabilized, it removed ambiguity, it made denial structurally difficult. Which I learned is far more disruptive than conflict. Nothing collapsed overnight. Families rarely explode, they reorganize. Conversations became cautious, then sparse. Narratives shifted subtly. Language recalibrated to accommodate facts that could no longer be comfortably ignored. My stepfather never addressed the recording directly. My mother never fully explained her silence. And I, perhaps most unsettling of all, didn't feel victorious. Just altered, because dismantling an illusion doesn't produce clarity alone. It produces space. And space, I discovered, is both relief and loss. The watch still sits on my wrist some mornings, no longer an object. More like a quiet, persistent reminder of how easily reality can fracture when something unintended records what everyone has spent years pretending not to see.